Is Wonder Man a breath of fresh air in the MCU? We are going to be talking about all this and more on another What's News episode. This is Systematic Geekology. We are the Priests of the Geeks, and we have so much to talk about tonight in the culture of pop, in the world of geekdom. So much news. I am Kevin Schaefer, one of your hosts. I am here with one of my favorite geekologists, Evan Garcia. Evan, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, man. Glad to be here talking all the what's news with what's happening. It's gonna be fun.
Man, this one's gonna be a blast. We were just talking before recording about how it's been a long winter here in North Carolina. Still, we're still in the middle of that. It's been ridiculously cold, and we've had snowstorms, so we've been home a lot. But the advantage of that is we've been watching a lot of good stuff in the geek world, and I hope we have plenty to talk about tonight. So, yeah, we're gonna, a little preview, as I alluded to in the intro. We're gonna be talking about Wonder Man. We're gonna be talking about some horror movies I saw recently. The Fallout season 2, and we're also, because we haven't really gotten to do a Stranger Things episode yet because things got a little crazy with the holidays. We easily could do an episode, but we do want to share our thoughts on Stranger Things 5 in as concise a manner as we possibly can. So that's a little preview for you. And hey, if you are joining here either live or you're listening to this one later, hey, thank you so much for joining tonight. We're really excited. And if you want to support, hey, like, subscribe, share. We know every podcast tells you that, but it really does help us out. So please, tell your friends about the show. If you're new here, welcome. And really the best way to support us is if you click on the link in the description. You can find out ways to support the show, check out our merch, all that good stuff. So, yeah. But Evan, I'm very excited for tonight. So before we get into our... Oh, and also I want to give a shout out to... we have many great Patreon subscribers out there. Tonight I want to give a shout out to Austin Nance. Austin, thanks so much for your support of the show. We really appreciate it. Well, Evan, before we get into the main topic tonight, let us do our lightning round where we hit on quick things we've been geeking out on lately. So
sounds good.
Perfect. Evan, we'll start with you. Oh yeah, gotta get that effect in. I love it. But yeah, but awesome. Well, Evan, what are your picks tonight for your lightning round?
I have two. I'll squeeze in here. One is the new Muppet Show episode that dropped a couple days ago, I think, and fantastic. I was smiling the whole time. I had it reminded me of watching it when I was a kid. So kind of Disney related, since in the theme park world at Animal Kingdom, a Dino Land just closed. They finally closed it, and I am so sorry. Hold on.
You're good, man. Well, you're good. Like, Evan's got to tend to dad duties. I can share my lightning round picks while he's doing that. So, for my lightning round, I want to shout out that Shrinking is back for season 3 on Apple TV. One of my absolute favorite shows. Is a brilliant series. If you've not seen it, definitely check it out. It's a brilliant comedy drama. Jason Segel, Jessica Williams, Harrison Ford. Brilliant ensemble cast, and I'm loving season 3 so far, especially because Michael J. Fox is in this season, and that was a wonderful addition to the cast, so I'm very excited for that. And then a little gem that I found over the weekend, again, being stuck inside with the snowstorm here in North Carolina, this was very apt for that, but I discovered a an older Stephen King series that I'd never seen before. That's on Disney Hulu called aptly it's Stephen King's Storm of the Century. It was a
Oh,
three
cool.
episode. Have you seen that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
yeah, that was a good. That's a great. This
Mm-hmm.
was honestly a little gem that I had not seen before. And it's interesting because I'm a huge Midnight Mass fan. The Mike Flanagan Netflix series, and this was a prominent inspiration for that. This was not, unlike a lot of Stephen King works, it was not based on a novel or short story. He wrote it straight for TV as a
Right.
miniseries, and it was excellent. So I watched that over while being snowed in over the weekend, and it was great.
It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, but
So for me, when I was rudely interrupted, and no,
you gotta do
I'm
dad.
joking. Yeah, he
The
was
dad
cool.
duties.
He was cool. But no, so in the whole theme park world, he a Dino Land closed as a Dynamo Kingdom, and because of that, I was like, oh, I want to look into some history of the park and the land and stuff. And one thing that I thought that maybe the audience might find a fun fact is that when the Dino Land opened, one of the songs included in the background music was a Stephen Curtis Chapman song called "Dancing with a Dinosaur," which is super interesting because that song is a CCM song, but it has nothing to do with literal dinosaurs. It's a metaphor for for like not changing in a relationship and stuff like that. So it is. I thought that was the funniest little piece of information that I've heard in a long time.
Don't you love that? I'm the same way where I love picking up on those obscure bits of like pop culture information that it doesn't bring me any money, and it brings me like and there are probably more things I could store my brain with, but I love that stuff that like
Right
it makes it for interesting conversations like this. So I love it.
there
But
we
yeah,
go.
yeah,
There we go.
fantastic. Well, Evan, any other lightning round picks for you?
Um, I saw a YouTube video where a guy fixed one of his old classic arcade cabinets. That was pretty fun.
Ooh, nice. Okay, cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. I also like I watch a lot of YouTube as well, like mainly different movie channels and stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I've spotlighted some of the channels I do.
Oh,
But yeah.
maybe throw in the trailer for Daredevil Born Again season two. That was really good.
Absolutely,
That was really
absolutely.
good.
I do want to touch on like when we get to Wonder Man, kind of the MCU in general, and I'm actually
Yeah.
really stoked for
Okay.
this year.
Perfect.
So yeah,
Perfect.
that. But oh, it looks amazing though. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Excellent. Well, let's get into it because I know we got a lot of topics to cover tonight. So, Evan, let's go to the next slide where we can talk about. I think this is my. I'll start with my topic here. So, now, Evan, I don't know about you, but January is usually when I see really terrible movies because like it's the January and February are typically dump months like they quote in Hollywood because it's like
Yes.
it's
Yep.
post Oscar season. It's usually where studios just dump like the mode, but occasionally there's a gem. This year, however, I have seen two great horror movies all right off the bat in January 2026, and the
Heck yeah.
first is 28 Years the Bone Temple, which I am just about to heap praise over. Evan, are you like what's kind of your background with the 28 Days franchise?
I saw true story. I saw the 28 Days in school. I forgot when that came out. I
Really?
think it was
Okay.
in middle school, and we saw it at a like after school. It wasn't a club, but it was just a few of us were hanging out with one of the teachers after school, and he put it on. So, but beyond that, I have not seen the rest, the 28 years or this one, but I would love to. But
There,
but
yeah.
feel free
Well,
to spoil it if you want.
Well, first off, I love that you had a middle school teacher show you 28 Days Later. That's
I think it was
fantastic.
middle school. Yeah, I forgot
That's
when that came out,
fantastic.
but yes,
Shout
yes,
out to that teacher. They're cool.
yep,
But yeah, but
Mr.
no,
Howard.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, and it's interesting because for me, like I had seen 28 Days, like years ago. I don't remember exactly when, on DVD or whatever. And I've got the DVD, and then I rewatched it when the first 28 Years Later came out last year. I did not see 28 Weeks Later until recently. That's sort of
Oh
the
yeah, I
I
forgot
mean,
about
that one is the only one in this series that's very loosely connected. It was the only one that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland really didn't have much involvement in, and they
that.
they're
Okay,
credited as executive producers, but neither of them wrote or directed. Whereas all of the others, they've like Danny Boyle directed the original 28 Days Later. Alex Garland wrote it. The same was true for 28 Years Later last summer, and then the sequel to that, 28 Years Later,
hmm
The Bone Temple, was directed by Nia DaCosta, who did The Marvels and the Candyman reboot, which I really like.
oh Candyman, yeah.
And then the movie Hedda, which came out I think last year or the year before. And because they were shooting these ones back to back, so Alex Garland wrote both of them, but Danny Boyle couldn't take on both because they were being shot simultaneously, and
Oh sure, okay.
so they hired Nia DaCosta to direct this one. And yeah, just a little bit of background since I mean, I don't even need to go into heavy spoilers, but just a little setup is that so obviously the 28 Days Later is I mean, it looks kind of like almost standard zombie story by comparison today because there have been so many zombie
Yeah,
movies and shows and comics and everything since what I think I can't remember if it was 2000 or like right around that time when it came out. But anyway,
yeah,
over the last quarter century, there have been a gazillion zombie stories. So the original one is a fairly simple narrative of a guy wakes up in a hospital, 28 days into the zombie apocalypse. He's very distraught, and he meets up with a group of survivors, and the real villains of the story are these sadistic humans. And that becomes like, sort of the central conflict. And so it follows. I mean, it's still great, but it follows kind of a more simple narrative by comparison. 28 Years Later, it focuses on this island, an agent that has been quarantined because most of the rest of the world has found an antidote to the virus,
oh,
but certain areas have not, and so this civilization has grown up in the wake of the apocalypse, and they kind of resorted to sort of a medieval way of living. You see images of like medieval Ireland and England. Like if you almost get these kind of like
that's
Braveheart
wild.
images
Yeah,
that are interspersed like throughout the movie in years, and it's fascinating. And the main focus of that movie is the thing that was interesting is when I went to go see it last summer, I went in not knowing A, that it was part of a planned trilogy, and B, that it was going to be a
oh,
coming of age story, actually. So, because they put
okay.
Aaron Taylor Johnson as the lead in the trailer, and while he doesn't play a prominent part, the story of that movie is really about his son, played by Alfie Williams, and he's like 12. He's going out on his first missions with his father to the mainland, and because in this world you have to grow up sooner, and so his journey to becoming a man happens much sooner. He's having to learn how to fight zombies, protect his people, do all that at a very young age, and so
hmm
the story follows that, and then he's trying to get a cure for his sick mother, and played by Jodie Comer. And in that movie, there is a character Ray Fiennes plays named Dr. Kelson, who is kind of this mysterious figure initially, and he plays a part in the third act of that film. And we learn he's this kind of like secluded but very good-willed doctor, and that was a fascinating thing too, because this is kind of a spoiler, but I for that first movie, but in this series, but like I was thinking that he was going to be a villain, because that's the usual trope. It's like, okay, they're gonna like
Right.
they're trying to like get to this guy. Oh, it's gonna go horrible, and I
Probably
really
gonna lose
liked that
his
they
nose.
exactly, right, exactly. And I was really happy that they didn't go that route, because I love this character, and they set him up really well for the sequel.
Nice.
So fast forward to the sequel, and also at the end of 28 years later, Alfie Williams' character meets this very bizarre group of this like kind of like gang cult that they call themselves the Jimmies, and we are introduced to the boy version of that character played by Jack O'Connell at the very beginning of the movie, and it's this really bizarre scene at the very end of the movie, and you're not really sure if they're there to save this kid, or the kid's name is Spike. You're not sure if they're there to save Spike, or if they're going to be a force of evil. But when the Bone Temple starts, we quickly learn, yeah, this is a sadistic, horrifying group of cultists. And actually, Jack O'Connell's character, the main Jimmy, he's actually inspired by a British cult figure who was like convicted in a series of sex crimes and stuff. And so it's a very like disturbing Ezekiel, but that's so. But that sets up this movie. Is it kind of tells two stories involving both the Jimmies, and Spike is now kind of captured and like forced into this group, and him trying to survive, and then it's juxtaposed with the continuing narrative of Dr. Kelson, because again we are introduced him to him in 28 years later, but the role here is expanded on, and he's doing experiments and trying to figure out more about the remaining infected, and what they can do. And there's this big like there's this one zombie from the first movie that they bring back here named Samson, and he has this like biblical like giant
hair,
persona, the hair, everything.
Nice.
And it does a really unique storyline there with him and Dr. Kelson that I really liked. So all that to say, I mean that's just the basic narrative setup, but this movie is incredible. What I love is that especially coming off a visionary like Danny Boyle, Nia DaCosta really adds her own flair to this world, her own touch, and I mean she does amazing things from the horror element, but she also creates just like really compelling characters, and these are two absolutely unhinged performances from Jack O'Connell and Ralph Fiennes. I think this is one of Ralph Fiennes' best performances of his career.
I thought it was Daniel Day-Lewis at first. I was like, wait a minute, he is in this?
Yeah.
I was like, no way.
Daniel Day-Lewis came out of retirement to be in that would be amazing.
Yeah,
but,
I was like, no way.
That would be crazy, but no, but that's what I love about Ralph Fiennes here, is that because I mean he's known for, of course, like Voldemort and Schindler's List and everything, but he's also done great comedy with like the Grand Budapest Hotel, the Wes Anderson film in particular, and I think in this performance he really combines elements of those two. There is a scene that is, I don't want to spoil here because I really want people to go see this movie. But let's just say he puts on an act here, and he puts on a major show, and he has an amazing soundtrack accompanying him. But that's where he really combines his personas of playing villains and playing over-the-top comedic characters into one magnificent performance. And I was absolutely hooked. So, yeah, I mean, and here it's just like, I really didn't know where the story was going to go next. I mean, again, it's very, the Jimmies are horrible and sadistic, but juxtaposing it with the Dr. Kelson storyline really kept me hooked. So it didn't feel like another zombie movie of stuff I'd seen before. It really felt fresh. Yeah. It felt invigorating. And it sets up an interesting thing at the end of the movie for the third, which I won't spoil there, but they have greenlit the third film. Danny Boyle is looking to return to direct for that. I almost, I mean, I love Danny Boyle, but I want to see Nia DaCosta do another because she just did
Yeah.
amazing work here. It
It's
was
always
incredible.
good to see when a franchise like this or different ones, they can switch directors and switch creatives, and they just not completely fall apart. Like
100%. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's always
And it
nice to
and
see.
it was still like it's very much a cohesive narrative because like Alex Garland still wrote this and him
Sure,
and Danny Boyle were
good,
producers, so like and I
cool,
like so I actually got to see an early screening of this film that had a Q&A, a live stream Q&A with Nia DaCosta and Jack O'Connell afterwards, and they were talking
nice,
about how she came onto the project, and yeah, it's cool because the Alamo Drafthouse does screenings and Q&As like that, so it was really cool to see. But she was talking about how she came on board and kind of what like either limitations she had, and what, and really she said that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland like met with her, and I mean they kind of obviously she had the script and everything, but they gave her kind of like an overview, but they really let her do what she wanted from a directorial standpoint, and I really like that. I mean, they were there kind of to if there were any questions needed, and they wanted to have a overall shared vision, but they really wanted her to let her make the movie she wanted to, and I really appreciated that because again, she
cool.
just did amazing sequences. The cinematography is incredible. The music's great. Yeah, these are just like some of the best performances I've seen in a while. So I could go on and on about this one, but suffice it to say, I loved it. And I know with I think with the snowstorms and it's January, like there's a lot of movie going that get to go down around this time. So this didn't do like great at the box office, but I hope more people see it while it's still in theaters, and then definitely check it out once it comes to streaming and physical media, because this is could easily be one of my favorites of the year. I know we got a long way to go in 2026, but talk about
Yeah,
a
plenty.
amazing start for me.
Right
So
on,
I
right
cannot
on.
recommend this one enough. Yeah.
Is it
So
still in theaters?
it is, yeah. So
Okay, all
because it
right.
opened in
Uh,
like mid
I'll check it out.
January. I saw it like because I saw it like the first or second week in January because I saw an early screening. But I think it came out like around I think it was like MLK weekend. So it's been out like
Okay,
just a few weeks at this point. I mean there's probably like more limited screenings now, but I would definitely go see it on the big screen if you are able to, because it is very much a rewarding theatrical experience.
right on, right
So
on.
awesome. Well,
Cool,
and then on
cool.
that note, I have another horror movie I want to talk about.
The
In the
horror.
trend of yeah. Although this is more more comedy. Or like well, I Evan, do you know anything about this one?
I do not. I
Okay.
saw the poster for it at the movies, and that's it.
Okay, cool. So, Send Help is a new film from the great Sam Raimi, the director of
Oh
the Evil
snap!
Dead trilogy, Spider Man, all that, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Like, one of my all time favorites. I actually got to meet Raimi at GalaxyCon a couple years ago, and it was fantastic. Nicest guy.
Cool.
So as soon as I saw this trailer and it said from director Sam Raimi, I'm like, well, I'm there. I don't need to do anything else, but yeah, this is a
You're a
new.
simple man.
This feels like a return to form. Not that he's ever really straight, but by return to form, I mean the kind of like original horror comedy that he made back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. If you've
Perfect.
ever seen the
Nice.
movie Drag Me to Hell, there's a lot of comparisons
Mm,
there. Yeah,
okay.
I don't know if you've seen that one, Evan.
I have not. I have not.
That's a really good one. I highly recommend. But yeah, Send Help. So this stars Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. Rachel McAdams is this very quirky employee at. They never say what kind of. This is one of those like movies where it's a corporate environment, but they never actually say what they do, whether it's a marketing
Oh yeah.
company or whatever. But it's a it's typical corporation. She's been there a long time and is seeking a promotion, and she was supposed to get one because she had close relationship with the former CEO and founder, but that CEO dies, and so the company is inherited by the guy's son, played by Dylan O'Brien, who is this huge misogynistic jerk who and is the very typical bro who hires his frat buddy as his VP over Rachel McAdams' character, who's much more qualified. But he does agree to bring her on a business trip to, I think it was, I can't remember if it was China or Thailand, while they're on this private plane with a few members of the company, a storm hits, and the plane crashes on a desert island, and her and him are the only two survivors. And so now they're stuck on an island. Obviously, Dylan O'Brien's character has been pampered his whole life. He doesn't know what to do on an island. Whereas Rachel McAdams' character, and I love this, she's a huge Survivor fan, so she's been preparing for this for her life, and I love it. So the power dynamics shift. And that's really the initial setup. There's a lot of actual, like, I was not expecting as many twists and turns in this story. When I saw the trailer, I thought it was, like, pretty straightforward. I was actually really surprised by, the ways the story surprised me. The comedy, again, is fantastic.
Nice.
But it is a story of this, these power dynamic shifting. You feel kind of a tug and pull because both her character is not fully redeemable, and also his character has some redeeming aspects. He's still a jerk, but there's this kind of pull into, who are you going to root for here, and what's going to happen, and how is it going to play out?
Cool.
But yeah, this was an absolute blast, and if you know anything about Sam Raimi's films, particularly Evil Dead, Drag Me to Hell, is that he can do over-the-top gore like no one else. And
memorable.
there is a scene here where Rachel McAdams goes toe-to-toe with a wild hog, and
Wait, what?
like his giant pig, and
That's funny.
And it's a CG one. It's super over the top. It is bloody as can be, and oh my gosh, like that alone is easy. Like when I'm gonna think about my favorite scenes of the year at the end of 2026,
really?
That's easily gonna pop up there because oh my gosh, it was exhilarating. Yeah.
That's funny because I have a giant wild pig story. So
you do? Ooh.
I do. Yeah, it's a fun one.
Do you want it?
Sure.
How long
yeah.
Is it? Okay.
No,
okay. Yeah.
I was hunting with some friends. I didn't want to use any guns, but I still wanted to go. So they were like, "Yeah, cool, come. Come hang." So I'm just walking around in the bushes and stuff like that with a couple of my buddies, and then all of a sudden, oh look, a little baby pig. It's cute. So I decided to pick it up for some reason. I picked up the baby. I was like, oh, it's cute. And then my friends are like, Evan, and I'm like, what? Put the pig down. I'm like, why? What's wrong? All of a sudden, I hear coming from the bushes, the scuffling, and this giant, like the size of a car almost, like a little Mini Cooper hog, mama pig, comes out and it runs at me, and I throw the pig and I start running, and they're all like, run.
Oh, I love it. Honestly, that would fit right into this movie. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you could easily be in a Sam Raimi movie, Evan.
Scary.
I love it.
That was scary.
But it's that kind of just like ridiculous over the top. And what I love too is that, I mean, Rachel McAdams is one of my favorite actors too. She does, comedy, drama, everything so well.
Mm-hmm.
And like her and Dylan O'Brien really understood the tone of this movie that I think I feel like other actors and other directors, if they were handed this script, they might, take it either too seriously or try to do things. Like, this was Sam Raimi didn't write this one, but I think the script, if I'm correct, I think it was like kind of floating around blacklisted for a while, and then he got a hold of it. But
Sure.
Kim, Rachel McAdams, and Dylan O'Brien understood exactly what this movie needed to be, and they delivered through and through. Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien have fantastic chemistry. They make, they just are so entertaining together. And yeah, it's just one ridiculously over the top sequence. Not one after another, but there's a lot of that. There's a lot of the over top gore. There's just like, it's like, oh my gosh, like it's one. This is another one. I know I sound like a broken record on every episode when I say go see this in a theater, but I really mean it with this one, because I loved seeing this last Thursday night, getting the audience reactions and watching this with a crowd. It made it all the better. Like, not that this wouldn't be good at home, but this is a perfect crowd pleaser where you're gonna get so much out of it. Seeing it on the big screen, seeing it with others, and yeah, it's just delightfully entertaining. Again, if you love Sam Raimi like I do, definitely go see it. But yeah, that was like kind of the biggest thing for me, as I was surprised by how much the story took different turns and led to a really, I thought, spot on ending that was just as funny and over the top as the rest of the movie. So yeah, it was. Yeah. So I mean, it was a 2 for 2. I mean, like with January horror movies. I mean, I also saw Primate, but I don't really want to talk about that. That was that one I got. That one was but like So if you have like one misfire, that was okay. But I had 2 great theatrical experiences to kick off the year, so that made me very happy. Yeah. So that is it for me for January horror movies. I know we got a lot more to cover, but definitely highly recommend both 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, and Send Help.
Bone Temple is such a cool title too.
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. Yeah. So
all right,
awesome.
So let's go.
Evan, I'm gonna hand the next topic over to you because I want to hear about Fallout Season 2.
Yeah, Fallout Season 2 is here, and it's a come and gone because it just finished, and it was it was a really well paced sequel to the first one, to the first season. Every episode was a continuation and a slow build up to the craziness of the last episode, but they still contained it. Every episode was still, it wasn't a filler episode where we knew that we were going to get back to the storyline. Like, every character had its place. We saw some new characters come back. So this is after the fact that they found out about the explosions from the government and from the corporations. So now the daughter is on the find. She's trying to find her dad. That her dad turned out to be a big deal, and one of the main causes that brought along the destruction of the world. And she wanted to find him and to bring him to justice. And she's traveling with the ghoul, and they have some adventures that show their differences in like her like naivete and his more experience, more jaded. There's actually some comedy in there, which was appreciated. And then they have the storyline for the different military factions, which I forgot what their names were, but that a character arc was fantastic in the sense of it brought back some other characters, and it changed the stakes of the whole season. And then Macaulay Culkin shows up in a few episodes and plays a role that is it's very comedic, and it's kind of timely too in our kind of state of our politics and whatnot. But like I said, that every episode a was 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 a build up to the finale, which they paid it off. I don't like. It's kind of a cliffhanger, but not really. But they did answer all the questions, and they set up another season. Um, and they are all kind of separate again. But yes, overall, I'm glad that it wasn't just a way to move the story along. They actually took the time to flesh out these characters even more. And yeah, so a Fallout season two, um, really cool special effects, the creature design, and the goriness, and that was all there. And yeah, good stuff.
I probably will check it out at some point. I've not gotten to season 2 yet. I was so we did an episode on season 1 back a couple years ago, and I was on that because I was sharing the perspective of I had never played the games or anything, and I just went in
Okay,
fresh
yeah,
to the show, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed season 1. I haven't got it. It was this kind of came out. Well, I think it started around the holidays, and I was watching Pluribus and finishing up Welcome to Derry and Stranger Things. So there was a lot going on at the time. So I have not gotten to it yet,
yeah.
but I did like the setup, and then I love like Kyle MacLachlan playing the father. I love the ghoul. I love all that stuff. So I do want to check this out. Would you
There
say
were
like how?
some.
Yeah,
I know with Kyle, there were some moments of kind of Twin Peaksy kind of moments, like
yeah, yeah.
really bizarre, and I kind of picked up on that. So I was like,
I figured the casting was intentional on that
yeah,
because, like,
yeah.
because I mean, Twin Peaks, and then he was also in the famous, the one I love, the David Lynch Dune, from the
Oh,
'80s.
right,
So, yeah,
right.
oh, great. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't care what anyone says, I love that movie. Yeah, I mean, like, how would you say this compares to season 1?
Season, I, I think, I think season one has the advantage of being a little bit more simple and not so intertwined, or like, I'm not saying that season two did a bad job, but season one was more linear, more simple, more here is a girl, and now she's leaving home, and she's going out to the big world, and so yeah, yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it did have that really good setup at the end of season 1.
Hmm.
They're gonna go to new environments and all that, and then like, are you a fan of the game too, or like?
I never played them. I
Okay.
have friends that that they were really big into the games. But I didn't even know too much of the story either, so I was pretty new when I started the show.
And I like from what I know too is like they kind of tell they don't follow the exact same narrative. They kind of take elements and kind of craft their own and
It
do
seems
different
like it, yeah.
things. So yeah, but I mean, because I from my isn't like the ghoul not even really a bit like I think they did
From
more
what
on
I
that in the
heard,
show.
like there are ghouls, but there's not like
Right. One
the
singular.
ghoul. Yeah,
Right, right, right. And I mean it's Walton Goggins, so I mean you got to make him the iconic
so
yeah,
good,
yeah.
so good.
So,
And
yeah.
he plays. There's a lot of the flashbacks to where he was still a human,
Okay, cool.
and it and and it's a cool framework to see how he was before and how he is now. They play with that framing a lot, so that was cool.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite part of season 1. So, I probably will check this out. I do like. I mean, it's a good show. And yeah, the visuals are pretty incredible.
They
So like,
are. Yeah.
yeah, awesome. Well, any other thoughts on this one?
I I hope that they don't. I hope that there's a final point to this story. I hope they don't go on like for 10 seasons. You know, it's like maybe 3, maybe 4 seasons because cuz because I think that this could get kind of dragged out to a point where they're just kind of making it to just kind of make it. And I hope it doesn't go there, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, I could say, and I mean, it's Amazon, so
Right.
money is king over
Yeah.
there. Like so, but
Exactly.
I agree. I hope they do like I could see this as maybe a 3 4 season kind of show, maybe.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
cool,
Cool.
awesome. Well, I'll check it out soon. So that the Fallout season 2. And next we have, as we alluded to in the intro, we got a big MCU show to talk about, or at least what I think is one. And we'll also talk about kind of the state of the MCU right now. But Wonder Man is the new, the first a TV series from the MCU of 2026.
This year,
This
right?
is a
Yeah.
yeah. This is an 8 episode live action series. They dropped the whole season on Disney Plus,
That was
and
nice.
yeah, I like. I mean, well, I had so we'll get into that too because like I think there are reasons for that. I'm glad they did because this was a really nice binge. They're shorter episodes, and so I liked getting the whole story here. There are some shows I like more the weekly format, but since they're only 30 minutes here, I liked getting the whole story here. But yeah, this series is about Simon Williams, played by Yahya Abdul Mateen II. And he is a struggling actor in LA who also has superpowers, though he conceals them, and we'll get to that as to why.
Hmm.
We'll try to. I don't know. We'll allude to that a little bit. I don't want to give like full spoilers because I want people to go watch this.
Right.
But we'll talk about that a little bit. And in the first episode, he is trying to get an audition for movie reboot of a superhero he loved as a kid named Wonder Man, and so he's trying to land the role for this big movie after losing job after job. And in the pilot, he meets none other than Trevor, Ben Kingsley's character, who we first met in Iron Man 3. And this is what I love. Well, first, I have to ask, like, do you remember when Iron Man 3 came out and, like, they revealed that twist that,
That twist,
that the
dude. I was
Mandarin
like,
is like, yeah.
what?
What was your reaction to it? Because, like, do you remember what kind of your initial thoughts were
I
back on that?
remember thinking, dang, they wasted so much money on Ben Kingsley to just
Yeah.
kind of flip it like that.
Yeah.
I was like, no
I,
way.
I also had a similar like I vividly remember let's see, Iron Man 3 came out my freshman year of college, so like I mean I was because it's like it was pretty cool because like Iron Man was I was in like toward the end of middle school, and then like Avengers the first one it was end of my senior year of high school, and then Iron Man 3 I'm in my freshman year of college. And yeah, I mean it was a similar reaction. I was like, wait, what? Like that? I mean, like I didn't get it at the time, and I figured like I mean, part of me I guess assumed like that they would bring in the actual Mandarin in another movie at some point, which of course they did
Eventually, yeah.
years later for Shang-Chi, but it was a long time after. And I'm glad they did it there. It worked, but I was
It
not
made
thinking at the
sense.
time, right? I was not thinking at the time how clever a decision it was because it ended up opening a huge creative door for
Yeah,
Marvel to do
it's
with
true.
his character. And here, I think it's the best use of the character by far. Because not only does he serve as a mentor to Simon, and they get to have this excellent relationship and this dynamic where they talk about acting and they get into the art of acting and the art of theater, it really in a really intricate and fascinating manner. But also there's the element here of okay, so he's been, he played the Mandarin, had to play, he's been in prison, he got
I've
out,
been in prison, right? Yeah.
but he still has,
And
government agencies after him, and here it's the
yes.
Department of Damage Control is after him, and they hire him, and they want him to get close to Simon because they know Simon has superpowers, and that becomes the impetus for the show.
Which I was wondering, how do they know that? But I guess that's just one thing that we just have to
What they
assume.
like knowing
How do
that
they know
Simon
that
has
he has
powers.
powers? Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think damage control. I just assume are really
they just
shady, and
have their way.
they're keeping track.
No
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
All right.
also I really came into the show not really knowing anything about the character of Simon Williams, and
Same.
I've been watching a bunch of YouTube videos and the character's origin in the comics is very different. He's like he
Right.
gets his powers from Baron Zemo.
Oh wow.
What I think here, they haven't officially confirmed, but I'm gonna assume for the time being, at least, that Simon is a mutant in the MCU. Just
That's what
because,
I've heard. Yeah.
that's kind of what, because we're
Why
moving
not?
toward the mutant saga.
Mm-hmm.
His powers are generated by emotion, particularly anger. And he learns to control them. That's a very mutant thing, and we never
True.
see in the show an origin where he didn't fall into an acid thing or get his powers in some accident, at least
Right.
that we know of. So I'm gonna assume that he's mutant, and I think the Department of Damage Control is going to play a major part in the mutant saga, and they're going to be the kind of Bolivar Trask type people that are keeping tabs on
Mm,
mutants. So I'm just gonna
the
assume that that's why they know he has
the
powers. That
the friends of
yeah,
humanity.
exactly,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So I think it's somewhere in that vein, and that's
Okay.
why.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But yeah, and so they set Trevor up to target Simon. But then of course what ends up happening is they develop this wonderful friendship, and end up teaming up together. And yeah, this was such a well written, well acted series. I would, I didn't get to watch it in one sitting, like I wanted to, but I had to split it up over like 2 nights.
Same. Same.
But just because it came out in the work week, but I absolutely loved it. I mean, this was. I
Mm-hmm.
like, as I said in the intro, this I think is very much a breath of fresh air in the MCU after a lot of ups and downs over recent years. I think particularly in the TV realm, there have been certainly some good shows, but a lot of them that you know. And this is one that no, it's not a typical superhero show. If you're
Right.
expecting that,
Right.
you might be disappointed. But I actually thought, even as a big comic book superhero fan, I liked that this was a very refreshing, self-contained narrative that prioritizes story and character over spectacle and world building. So I did
Mm-hmm.
not mind at all that there was very little
Same.
superhero in here. Yeah, Evan, sorry, I don't know, I'm rambling here. What are your thoughts here?
I think a key thing to say is that this is classified as Marvel Television, and then it's a spotlight feature. So these are kind of more standalone, and they have more freedom to be like what this became, and what I was super surprised at. It just the character piece. It's just here's a character, and we're gonna flesh him out. Oh yeah, and he's got some powers that he's trying to keep secret. Other than that, it's just a fantastic trying to learn about yourself and trying to put yourself out into the world and accepting and realizing the nuances in yourself while you try to make it in the world, and I didn't know anything about the character. I knew about the character, and I knew that he just kind of dressed really nice from what I saw. So when I pulled up the show, I loved that first episode. The and that second episode, I was like, I know exactly where this is gonna go. Like I predicted the ending, even the post credit sequence. I predicted it. I was like, but but when that finally happened, I wasn't mad. I wasn't mad because the journey to get to the end was so satisfying. Those two characters interacting with each other were so great. So great. One thing I wanted to pull up is that they focused on the fandom of this kind of stuff. And like the main character, Simon, he is obsessed with his character called Wonder Man because his father took him to the cinema to watch it when he was a kid, and then that kind of captured his wonder. And then I loved it when they showed him and his father. They went to go get burgers after the movie, and they were just kind of nerding out on the movie. It was so beautiful to see that, because I try to be like that with my son and kind of be like, I try not to force him to like what I like, but I kind of bring out what I like. And when he likes it, he really catches on to it, and we kind of talk to each other like that. And that was a cute little moment. And the whole family dynamic of his mom and his brother trying to give him pressure for not having a real job, and them that whole side of trying to be creative in a world that is more industry based and stuff like that. So I I could go on, but I loved this show. It was such a surprise. Such a good surprise.
It really is, and I what I love too is like I mean, like it doesn't make Simon 100% likable. Like I mean, a lot of
He
the
has
reasons he's
flaws.
failing at the beginning
Hmm.
is very self inflicted. Like there's this wonderful scene in the pilot where he got a job in a scene in American Horror Story, and at first he's like
Yeah.
complimenting all the director of the cast, like, "Hey, I know you from Sons of Anarchy. I love your work there. You think it's gonna be
And
really
he
great?"
takes it
And
too
then
far.
yes, it's like it's one thing to like give a note here, like, "Hey, is this okay to make this choice?" But he keeps going to the point where he's like, "Hey, do you
It
think
was
we should have this?"
awkward. I
Oh,
felt so
it's
cringing for him. I
so
was like,
cringy.
"Stop it, bro!
Like,
Stop it!"
bro, just like yeah, like he to the point where he's like asking if they can switch out the book there that's on the desk because he's like, well, this
Jeez
is a
Louise.
professor of this subject. You think they would really be reading this? Because like it's I'm like, bro, no, you're gonna like I mean, and then they, of course he gets oh, so we just talked to the showrunner. They decided to cut your CEO, so you're relieved, but thank you so much for showing up today. And I'm like,
Man.
it was hard to
Oof.
feel like bad for him in that moment because I'm like, bro, you kind of did that to yourself, so like
Hmm.
and then
Hmm.
but it's also that's very much a trait of a lot of actors, and I love that Trevor becomes his mentor there and gets him to stop overthinking and overanalyzing as much because at a certain point you have to surrender to the character and to the
Yes.
scene, and that
The
was brilliant. Yeah.
the the two different ways of acting. And because yeah, you can be super obsessive about all the details and stuff. Like there's there's some roles that clearly they will benefit from that kind of approach. But sometimes you just gotta feel it. You know, I'm talking like if I know about acting. So
Hey, I've got the theater background, so but
right,
you're
yeah,
very accurate in that respect. So,
yeah.
but no, there are some great episodes here too. One I really love was the callback episode where this is where they get to meet with the director of the Wonder Woman movie, and they go to his house along with several other actors up for the roles.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah.
the story like Simon's auditioning for Wonder Man, Trevor's auditioning for the best friend. And they go
Barnaby,
and the actor who plays the director in this movie is the same guy who played
perfect.
the Minister of Baravia in
Yes,
Superman,
Superman.
and essentially he plays like the same
The
character,
same
just as an artsy
character,
character, and I
but
loved
just
it. It
change
was
the job.
awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah, yeah. So I love that episode. I also, of course, love the one about midway through the series where they do an origin of another character because the question
I
lingering
love how
over
they
the
snuck that in there.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, because the question lingering over the first few episodes is okay, why does he hide his
Hide
superpowers
his
completely?
powers. Yep.
Because like this is very much a lived-in world where superheroes are normal out there. Like, why is he not using them? They answer that in episode 4 in a brilliant way, where they do this character origin that explains why Simon cannot do this, specifically related to his career field. And I'm like, this was amazing. So
Amazing.
such a smart series.
Where did Josh Gad go?
Where did Josh Gad go? It's the question. Will Josh Gad return in Avengers Doomsday?
Will he return?
But yeah, I love that. And now, so you mentioned earlier that they dropped the whole series of time, and you loved that. Now, part of the reason this was, I don't like the reason that this was, and I don't like that Disney and Marvel have done a terrible job marketing this show. They basically just dropped it, and even friends I've talked to are like, "Oh, that's out." So this story behind this show is that so it was created by Destin Daniel Cretton and Andrew Guest, and Destin Daniel Cretton is the director of Shang-Chi, and then he's also directing the Spider-Man movie this summer, and he directed the first couple episodes of the series and co-created it. But it was actually shot a couple years ago, and then there was the actor and writer strikes. There was a bunch of overhaul with Marvel Television. There was a point where, because this was under the Marvel Spotlight banner and it was kind of its own thing, there was a point where they considered not releasing the show and doing it, writing it off as a tax write-off. And I'm so glad that they didn't do that. But it also means I don't think they had a lot of real plans to promote this. It was a risky move to do a character that even comic book readers aren't as familiar with, and that doesn't have a lot of mainstream recognition. But I'm glad they dropped it. But yeah, that's part of. I'm hoping word of mouth will and I mean word of mouth has been
it's
great.
all over my feeds.
And the critical reception has been great. So I hope this does elevate the series and get it to a point where we can get a season 2. We can see this character again, because I really want this story to continue. But yeah, I want Marvel to take more risks like this, because and same with Star Wars. I mean, Disney has a new CEO, but if the new Disney CEO is listening to Systematic Geekology, which he should,
come on, Josh,
make more stuff like this that takes risks, that isn't exactly what you expect, doesn't fit into the formula.
Politicians
enjoy it.
Yeah, they have 100 days when they get into office to do kind of crazy stuff, kind of shake up things.
Yeah.
Why not? One thing that I realized halfway through this series, I'm like, where have I seen this guy before? Where have I seen the actor before? And he's from the Aquaman movies.
He's from that. Yep.
I completely forgot.
He was Black Manta in the Aquaman movies. He's also, I think, his best role is in the Watchmen series, the Damon Lindelof created one.
Right.
He's excellent in that. That is, if you've never seen that show,
I've heard he's really good in that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, no, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, wonderful actor. I thought it was a perfect fit for this role.
And that one episode with, I don't want to spoil it, but it was the shock. Excuse me? That one episode, if you know what I mean?
Yep.
I was just whoa, that just happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was one of those that I'm not going to forget. I didn't want to spoil it, though.
No, it has a lot of them. Again, it's just this is just really excellent storytelling that, that exists, in the same universe as in the MCU, but it's they were not afraid to just let Destin Daniel Cretton and Andrew Guest really do their own thing and work their magic and just tell a great story. And and based on where this ends, I really want to see it continue. So we'll see. But yeah, awesome. Well, we could keep going on about Wonder Woman, but suffice to say, go watch it. And I know we're running low on time, and we have a big topic next. But I know I said we could easily do an entire episode on the next topic. We probably will at some point. But again, we had the holidays, and me, Will, and Laura just didn't get a chance to do an episode on the second half and the finale of Stranger Things 5. And it's obviously concluded since then, so I did want to take a little time just to share our overall thoughts on how the show ended. And there was also the making of documentary too, which I don't know if you watched that, but I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me. I completely forgot about
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta check it out.
Yeah. So Stranger Things is over. For me, it was really
Mhm.
cool because I got to. So when I watched the the series finale first at home on New Year's Eve, and then I saw it again at the Alamo the next night. So
Cool.
getting to see it in the theater was really cool. On New Year's Day, that was a blast. I is my overall thoughts because we did me, Will, and Laura did that initial episode on the first 4 episodes. This was back in November. The first 4 episodes of
Mhm.
season 5. We
Volume
shared our
one.
thoughts there. Volume 1, exactly. And with Volume 2 and with the finale, I mean, I have a lot of mixed thoughts. Overall, I was satisfied with how it ended. I thought it had a really good emotional send off for these characters. And as far as and this is spoiler because I mean it's been out for I feel like
Yeah, yeah,
anyone watching
yeah.
this so spoiler, but no real big characters die other than we don't know if 11 is definitively dead or if she managed to escape into
I
some
love how
alternate
they left
dimension.
that. I love how they
Yeah,
left that.
I do too. Well, I'll go and ask what do you think? Are you a believer that she's alive or do you think she's dead?
I I I see it the way that they proposed her story. I believe that she is alive, but we know it, but they don't know it.
Yeah, I think.
That
Oh, I
yeah.
definitely think either way, whether she's alive or dead, I don't think she's ever gonna reunite
And
with Mike and the
that's kind
company.
of the whole
Yeah.
point, I think,
Right.
because
Right.
they
So yeah.
needed to let go. They
Yeah.
needed closure,
Yes.
and not closure like external closure. They needed
Yeah. Yeah.
internal closure for the whole thing that happened, and I think it was a very beautiful way of doing it when with the when they were playing that final game of their D&D campaign, the 4 and now Max, and the way that they did a Lord of the Rings ending kind of,
Yeah. Yeah.
but n- but they framed it in a way that he was kind of telling a story on
Mm-hmm.
how they continue life after, and Mike was telling it, and it was just like a beautiful way to end it, but to not close it, if you know what I mean. I thought.
No, absolutely. I really love that scene. I think that was what it was really building up to, and it was this is ultimately a coming of age series where the ending had to be about saying goodbye to their childhood and giving kind of a general idea of where the characters might go from here. I don't think it's absolutely definitive of oh they all follow these paths, but you get the general idea of okay, Mike becoming a writer, Will, Dustin going off to college, Lucas and Max
Yeah.
ending up together, all that I really liked, and and yeah, I got because I initially I thought oh I think Eleven's definitely alive just in some other world. I think even if she's dead though, she could still be in some kind of afterlife dimension. But either
Sure.
way, like you said, I think she, it's definitely she said goodbye to the character. She's gonna go live on and somewhere else, and they've had this great adventure, but it's time for them to all move on. But I do really love that final scene. And then the way it, speaking of Lord of the Rings, the way the title sequence is mirrored after the Return
Uh
of the King one. I love that.
you picked up
Mhm.
on that too. Nice.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was great. Yeah, I mean, and, I've seen all of the criticisms, and some I agree with, some I don't. I'll be honest, I was a little hesitant going into the finale because I wasn't as crazy about the 3 episodes before that, volume 2, the
Right.
episodes 5 through
Same.
7.
They
Was
didn't
not
really
crazy
say
about
much.
those.
Yeah.
They didn't
They
say a
didn't.
ton, and
Yeah.
I thought the pacing was very awkward.
Mhm.
Me, and Will were sharing a ton of memes around that time because there
Yes.
was
Yes.
I love the ones
Yeah.
about Max and Holly doing a podcast in the middle of the
They're not
right
even
as they're
running.
about to
They're not
escape.
even trying to leave. Yeah.
That was absolutely hilarious. So there were definitely, I mean, when I think about season 5 as a whole, like, and this isn't saying it's awful, but like, would I put it toward the bottom of my ranking? Yes. Like, I mean, just because, but that's because I love season 1, season 4,
Yeah.
and I'm more of a fan of season 2 than most people.
They were.
But it doesn't mean it's bad. I just,
Yeah.
when I think about like in comparison with other seasons, I think it's not as good, but I'll still be rewatching.
What did you think of because to me, it kind of came out of nowhere, but they did pretty good. How they set up the different, like what is the upside down and then the void
Yeah, yeah, I
and
like
that.
yeah.
How did you think about that? Because they kind of brought it in last minute,
They
but
brought it last minute. I wish they had
yeah,
brought it sooner. I
kind of
liked
fleshed it out more.
so it wasn't so much like I liked the I didn't have any problem with like the actual reasons they gave, like the explanations there. It was more the execution of those, like the way they over explain stuff, the way they it was paced, like that was more my issues. But as far as the actual like, oh, this is what the upside down is, and this is like Vector's
Yeah,
dimension, I thought all of that made sense. Like I was good with that.
yeah.
I agree. I wish it had been like better written,
Mm.
and like maybe like presented a little sooner and fleshed out a little more.
They did such a good job with that final battle that
I did like the battle a lot, and
oh my
especially seeing it on the big
goodness.
screen. That was a
Everyone
blast. Yeah.
had their own role to play. So now, what about the big scene that everyone's talking about? Will's coming out scene. Like, what do you
Yeah,
think
and
about that?
it was because like I read a bunch of interviews with it. I mean, this is speaking as someone who's like I'm not LGBT, like I am a like ally advocate, but like I was reading different like some there were some like LGBT people who thought like this is terrible, this is just like really cringy and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Others who actually appreciate it and I mean I read interviews where the Duffer Brothers and Noah Schnapp, who is gay as well, like I mean they worked really hard on coming to that. I see it both ways. Like my preference would have been it to have been a more like intimate with like him and his mom and him and Mike
Hmm.
and like kind of thing.
Yeah,
But at the same time I see the power of coming out in the 80s to a big group, even ones who would
to
be
the
predominantly
group.
supportive. That's a big deal, like so I get
Yeah,
that. The thing it's not but the thing though that like it was after that scene, so like this was supposed to be this big liberating moment for him that enabled him to fight Vecna more than ever and like overcome his fears. I He already kind of had that moment in season. I thought season 4. I mean, I was sorry, volume like episode 4. In volume 1, that was really the moment where he because like that was when he
right,
conquered his fears and when
right.
he took over the Demogorgons. Like that was infinitely more powerful. Whereas like in the finale, he didn't really do anything new there. Like there wasn't really any new powers unlocked after he had been like so afraid to reveal his sexuality and like really explore his own identity.
Yeah,
And so I thought it would have like opened up something more, but it really just kind of they did kind of the same thing, there. And so that was the only thing. But yeah, I mean, so when I first saw that, I was like, this is a little cringy. I like elements of it, but overall, I would have preferred it to be a more intimate scene. It just felt a little forced, like to do this big
it
group
came
thing, and
like
yeah, yeah,
yeah. I kind of do agree with the notion, like you kind of alluded to that it just brought everything to a halt all of a sudden,
right,
and
right, right.
then like they were clearly trying to set up something, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, so what are you trying to say? And then they said, like you said, they said the same thing that we saw in that episode in his empowerment and stuff, which is a great. But I was like, okay, all right, it's good to have that, I guess.
Yeah. Right, right. It was just like I don't know. It just would have and yeah, and again there was just some like dialogue and stuff like really throughout the season. It was like, really? I don't know. This could be like this could worked on, but yeah. I mean, but I also don't want to speak too much. Like kind of like again, I want to hear more from LGBTQ people to like
Yeah,
share their
yeah.
thoughts there. But that was just kind of my general thoughts on again those episodes 5 through 7. It wasn't so much like the plotting was like ludicrous as much. So it was just like the pacing and execution was like my biggest issues with those
Mm.
episodes. But then and so I was nervous going into the finale because I was like, how are they going to wrap all this up? But I thought they did a really good job. Like, and I liked how it was balanced between okay, the first half is the big battle and tying everything up, and then the last half is this extended epilogue. But I think that was very appropriate. I liked seeing the core emotional moments be that has been the beating heart of the series from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Really come to a satisfying payoff in those final 45
and
minutes.
and pretty much they were able to make such a great ending without anybody dying, really.
Yeah, it was. And
everyone
yeah,
everyone stayed.
and I
I
did joke
mean,
with friends of like, I was texting a friend that night of like, wow, if I had this much plot armor in real life, I would be invincible. But so I mean, it
nice.
was, and but at the I get that it's ultimately like, yes, everyone was waiting for oh, who's gonna die, who's gonna die. But ultimately, I mean, this is not a Game of Thrones show. This isn't that kind of where like
Good.
there's
Yeah,
like this
true.
is a coming of age like character driven show, and like yes, it makes it for a little ludicrous that like they all survive this thing, but it may that also paved their way for a really touching, heartfelt final 45 minutes that I'm really glad, and I loved where all the characters ended up. I mean, Steve, being a teacher and having a little league team, that was absolutely
Yes,
fantastic.
that was
So,
perfect. Oh,
yeah.
and Dustin's speech at the graduation, man.
Yes, yes.
Oh, in I love how he touched on the division of like the jocks and the
Mm-hmm.
nerds,
Yeah.
because they did such a good job, at least for me. Like, I did experience that a lot. Like, there was that clear division between the people that were nerdy and that were not nerdy. And
Sure, sure.
then they fleshed that out from the nerd side, you know what I mean? They fleshed it out so well, I thought, but then they they don't twist it. Like, they don't stay there, and
Mm-hmm.
they fleshed out the fact that yes, we are different, but we are together, and and we all we all came together to to defeat this, but they all came together, and I thought that was beautiful. I
I do
thought that was
too. That
beautiful.
was great. I also, like I said, there were also memes about like, wow, how did Max graduate when she was in a coma for a
Oh
couple
yeah,
years? Okay,
yeah.
I have to say here though that like, as someone who's disabled, who I missed about a year of elementary school in total when I like through various like illnesses, broken bones, all of that. When I added up all the time, I was like, okay, I missed about a year. I never got held back, so like
There
I
you
missed plenty
go.
of
There
school
you go.
throughout my grade school experience. So I'll give them a pass there. They also, I mean, come on, they endured collective trauma as a town. They can let these
Hmm.
kids, go on and graduate. But yeah. So overall, I mean, yeah, I mean, there was like there's things I can impact. There's things that like weren't as great as other seasons, but I thought overall, as one of my favorite shows of all time, if not my favorite, it came to a overall satisfying conclusion. I do recommend watching the documentary. I will say so. One of the things that's been
Yes.
pointed out is like they reveal in there. I was surprised that they dropped this so close after the series ended because like while I love consuming this kind of stuff, I'm like it gives a little too much info for right when the show ended. I feel like it would have been better drop it like months after or a year after. But I mean, they revealed that
Okay.
when they went into production on season 5, they hadn't had a finalized script for the series finale at that time,
Hmm.
which is
Wow.
itself like a movie. And I'm like, that doesn't make them look great there. I mean, that's not uncommon for particularly like longer form shows, like back in the days of like 22, 23 episode season. Yeah, they were writing those as they went. But for one like this where while they are longer episodes, it's only 8 episodes, and they had a lot of time to plan. that's something they should have, probably locked in before. But nonetheless, it was
Sure.
fascinating to see, insight into the production, insight into the creative process. I mean, I'm a nut for all that stuff, so I do recommend checking it out. It was pretty cool. But yeah. So
The
yeah.
lost art of DVD features, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's being now. It's like now instead we've got Netflix documentaries and YouTube videos and stuff and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah. But overall, I mean, hey, it's Stranger Things. I'm always gonna love it. And I was really happy getting to see that on the big screen
And
for Nye.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this might be one of the last like the franchises or something that's a fairly new to capture the world's eye. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
Stranger
yeah,
Things was a big
yes.
deal. It
Mm-hmm.
was a big deal, and it came out
I
of nowhere. You know,
Yep,
came
I
out
think
of
you're
nowhere.
absolutely right. Like, there's not. I mean, there are so many shows and movies now, and it's more like. I mean, I hate this word, but like, I like of like it's content out there, a lot of that stuff.
Content, yeah,
But like a pop culture sensation like this, like no, it's. I
it's
mean,
huge.
like if another happens like that, I think it's gonna be a while, and I don't know what the next big thing
And
will be.
I don't think that's a bad thing, like
Mm-hmm,
because
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
the streaming and internet has kind of changed the landscape of this kind of stuff.
Right,
But
right.
I can see the value in like having small little pop culture things here and there. But yeah,
Sure,
but this was
sure.
huge.
Yeah.
But this was
No, it's
huge.
a great point. I mean, like it's just rare that you get something of that magnitude.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know what we'll see. I mean, I mean, we've got existing franchises, but I don't know if there will be something like this again or in the near future. We'll see.
Right, right.
But we do have
Cool.
they did drop the teaser for the animated spinoff,
Animated series, yeah.
which I think it's a little soon to like do another
Oh,
one. They like there's good, but it looks fun though. Yeah.
I know that we want to close up, but I went down a huge deep dive
Mm.
on what the Stranger Things, specifically season one and probably season two, were I on what they were based on. Do you know what they were
Like
based
all
on?
the all the movies and stuff, or like influences, or the
No,
you're talking about that book. What's it called?
the
Uh,
Montauk Files.
the Monte. Yeah. So yeah.
Fascinating,
I've
wild
never read
conspiracy
it, but like
theory
yes.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow!
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea the level of
Yep.
just absurdity that might have happened. You know what I mean?
Right. No,
like the
absolutely. And
stuff
like
that these
they're
people were saying.
yep. And they considered calling the series that back when.
Right, right,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that
It
was
is.
fun
No,
because
it is
I had
fascinating.
no idea. I had no
Yes.
idea.
I didn't know that for a while, but I learned that I don't remember exactly when, but yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
So awesome. Well,
Cool.
Evan, this has been. I know we could go on and on, but we do need to wrap up here. Before we go, if Evan, if you had to recommend either one of the things we discussed tonight or something totally different, what do you want to give a shout out to?
I'll throw in I'll throw in something completely different. And it's a theme park thing. Um, Disney dropped on the Disney Plus streaming service. I don't know why I said it like that, but they dropped. It's a documentary of sorts, but it's more of a footage of the opening of Disneyland and
Okay, okay.
how it was such a time crunch and how they were able to put a whole theme park together in less than a year. It
Oh,
was
I think I have seen
insane.
that. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. Because
just
there's a lot of good, behind the scenes stuff on Disney Plus. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So a lot of things that they could not do today, for sure.
Right.
A lot of
Right.
OSHA violations and stuff, but that was a
Yep.
fun a peek behind the curtain. A lot of
The
cool
history of
things.
Disneyland and Disney World are fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever someone says, like, they oppose the question about where would you go if you had a time machine, and the opening of Disneyland is what I want to do because it's so
That would be.
filled with lore, and it
Yes.
and it sparked a whole industry that I love, you know. So yeah,
Totally. Excellent choice. And for me, I'll start because I mean I love Wonder Woman, and I want to touch back on if you want to see more of Yahya Abdul Mateen II's work, definitely watch the Watchmen series if you've not. That came out in
how many
2019,
episodes?
I believe. It is 8 or 9. I think 9. I want
Okay,
to say.
cool. All right, good.
You can easily binge it over a
Yeah,
weekend.
I completely
It
forgot
is
about
some of
that.
the best storytelling you're gonna see. I mean, definitely not just in comic book but I mean, oh, it's brilliant. And I mean, it helps if you've read the Watchmen comic, but honestly, you can go into it fresh, and they tell you what you need to know. Like it
Sure.
serves as a sequel to Watchmen. And it crafts an original story. It's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, him, Regina King,
Hmm.
Tim Blake Nelson, wonderfully written by Damon Lindelof and a bunch of other great
Oh, he
creators.
did it. Oh, I love Damon
Yeah,
Lindelof. Yeah.
it's
All
I think
right.
one of the best things he's ever done. Yeah, yeah.
Better,
So I say like
better than Leftovers. Because boy, I
I've
love
not seen
Leftovers.
Leftovers, but I need to. Yeah,
Oh my
I
goodness,
need to. But this
that's a
came out like
show.
right after that, so I mean,
Okay,
yeah, and he may have worked with the same people. I'm not sure,
that's
but
cool.
yeah, no, that's one. So if you finish Wonder Man, and are itching for more of Mateen's work, and you want to see just another great, character driven, story driven, comic book property, that is an excellent one. So
Cool, cool.
awesome. Well, Evan, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and for listeners out there, if you missed the live recording, hey, you can join our Facebook group to interact with us there, and again, rate or review the show wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps us. And I want to give a shout out to more of our Patreon subscribers: Justin Vaughn, Annette Knoll, and Aaron Hardy. You all rock. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. We love it. And remember, we are all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests. Take care, everyone.